O'Neill, 2 L's. I serve the SGC under a General Hammond.
We're explorers. You see, we're from another planet.
The unstable vortex of a forming wormhole. Kawoosh.
Indeed.
Hello interwebs, welcome to another episode of the Kawoosh podcast. My name is Arne and I am joined as always by my lovely wife.
Evie, hi.
And we will be your hosts today.
Do we have other hosts?
No, we should get some guests in.
Guest hosts.
Yeah,
Yes.
I bet we have some friends who like Stargate.
Probably. Tom?
I don't know. We'll ask around, see if they have favorite episodes they want to cover with us.
If any of you out there know us and want to join us, just shout.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, today's episode is Tin Man. And you didn't know it last week when we talked about this. So, yeah.
It did eventually come back to me, but it took a while. Yeah.
I get that, yeah.
I kept thinking in the wrong direction. I kept thinking Dorothy on the yellow brick road for some reason.
So let's dive into this one and see what it's all about. So, Tin Man. We open in some kind of industrial warehouse or factory, and the camera climbs up over a what do you call it, a cistern, and it reveals the Stargate behind it. And the team steps out of it, with O'Neill acting like he's an airline steward. And
I missed that.
yeah, it was like, welcome. He's doing the whole shtick of welcome to and SG Airlines. I'm not sure what he said exactly,
Okay.
but it was like
He's
kind of
being Jack.
riffing. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And they walk around the factory, and something is floating in the air, which they're looking at, and I noted it because I thought it was going to be important.
It is
It's
important.
not.
They mention it later, but they only had the money to make it once, I think.
Yeah.
It looks like a very expensive shot. It's the power source, basically.
Oh, that's the power
That's
source.
the power source that they talk about later on.
Okay.
You know, they showed it to you once in the opening credit. Come on.
It's in the
I
pre-credit
know!
sequence.
It was very
Jeez.
expensive, okay?
Okay, Daniel remarks how the technology in the factory is more advanced than Earth, but it does seem older.
It looks exactly like a factory on Earth, though, so I'm not sure.
But they put some funky lights, some like purple and blue in there.
Like later on, there's a screen that's very obviously an old computer screen, but they put like flashy reflector tape on the side, so
Yeah.
that makes it alien tech.
And it also doesn't look Goa'uld. Teal'c doesn't even seem to recognize it. He's never been here before.
No, he says, I have not,
Yeah, well, yeah.
because he doesn't use apostrophes, which is weird for a species that uses
Them in their names? Yeah,
all
I
their
know.
names.
They step into another room where Carter recognizes something that is supposed to be a computer terminal.
And then she touches it.
It's also very obviously a computer terminal. It's just like you said. It's like a CRT screen with
Yeah.
some things mashed onto it.
But then she touches it. Never mind.
It's weird. Like there's some scenes that you see a set and it's like, oh, this is a decent set, and then this is like they ran out of budget on a computer or something.
I think everything already existed, though. I think they just found a location that worked really well, and then they did some things to change it around.
Yeah, it is really obvious which pieces are in a real factory and which ones are not. Mm-hmm. So this one, they probably just put a table and a computer and like, this is a computer in the middle of the thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, they step in there and a high-pitched sound goes off, and O'Neill orders everyone to get back to the Stargate, to fall back, and then they are hit by some sort of light, and they freeze, and they fall down.
And then we have the opening credits.
Yes. A bit of a slow start.
The entire episode is slow.
Yeah, that is very true. That is one of the remarks, yeah.
Yeah.
So when we come back, the team is lying on some sort of bed, and they wake up. And this is
the
like...
whole setup just made me think there's an egg at their feet, and it's gonna open up, and we're in an alien movie now. Because they were... laid out.
It might be that this is a set from something completely different.
Could be. Scrounging is a very important cornerstone of TV series.
Yeah, like in Serenity, Firefly, one of the sets they used was actually a Power Rangers set.
And
they just relit it.
And the outfits they have were the Starship Troopers.
The soldiers from the evil empire are and they just painted them purple.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what I think. Like, this is a very detailed set of, and it's a bunch of beds around us, around the central spire. But it doesn't look like anything else in this episode.
Oh.
So yeah.
But we're only in there twice, so 3 times, not many.
So Carter and O'Neill are the first ones to wake up, and they are wearing some sort of skin-tight outfit.
The way that they all matched, but their stripes were different, it was very high boy band energy.
Yeah.
I was like, I kept waiting for Teal'c to like bust out in a rap or something. That would have been cool. Yeah. But they didn't.
And Carter remarks that their transmitters are gone, their gear is gone, and they go on to wake up Teal'c and Jackson, and the consensus of the whole thing is something happened, but we're all feeling fine.
Yeah, this is one of my first notes, and throughout the episode it just becomes more apparent that the writers spent no amount of time thinking about Daniel at all. Because everybody's like, my gear is gone, my weapons are gone, the transmitter is gone, Daniel is missing his glasses. And not once does he go, where are my glasses?
Which is kind of something important, because it does tie in. So somebody's thought of, maybe it was Michael Shanks himself, like he says like, oh, this happened, so I won't be needing my glasses here.
Yeah, and it would have been so easy to just go like, my glasses are gone.
Yeah.
But then somebody probably said, okay, but then you would notice that you don't need them anymore, and that's too much for right now as a revelation in the episode. Which just makes they didn't think about
it. It takes a whole long time before they get to the point.
Yeah, and it does. There are beats in this story that I thought that this wouldn't make sense with the characters that we have. Anyway, so Daniel's glasses are missing, and he doesn't remark on them.
Yeah, and a door slides open, and an older man steps in, and he's yelling, "Comtria."
And one of my main pet peeves about this entire thing is he does not get punched once. And he deserves to be punched.
He is very annoying.
He's very annoying.
Yeah.
Not only that, but later on, he's very problematic.
But it also feels like he's specifically written to be like this, but they never at any point do something with that.
Yeah. He comes in and he doesn't tell them anything, which is one of my least favorite tropes in writing. And I can't tell you this yet.
And it goes on forever. And that becomes a problem.
It felt like a Chibnall episode.
Yeah.
It really felt like, I, as the writer, know something and you don't, and we're just never gonna tell you anything until like
the end of the episode.
Oh gosh. Anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. The man starts asking how they feel after what happened. Well, and not saying what actually happened. He acts very enthusiastic, and he tells them their clothes and stuff is gone. And he calls himself Harlan, and he's apparently the last survivor of Altair, which is the planet they're on. He leads them out of the room through the factory, and he tells them the outside is a dangerous place, there's lots of radiation, and he is alone, and he misses the others. So there were others before him, and they all died over the years. This is what he tells them. And they ask him when the last one died. And Harlan gives them a number, and he gives it to them in hours. And O'Neill immediately goes like, was it 11,000 years? And everybody goes like, how do you know that? And then Daniel goes like, it's correct. How do you know that? So there is something going on. But they don't really ask any further questions?
Like, they're smarter than this. These characters are smarter than this.
They have 2 scientists in the group.
Yeah.
They should be drawing conclusions or something.
There's no drawing conclusions. There's only passive following, really, throughout the episode.
Yeah, and Harlan tells them that he made them better. O'Neill has enough, and he lets Jackson start the gate, and they leave Harlan alone on the planet, and he yells after them that they will be back. And at the base, they go through a medical checkup, so they have learned from previous episodes that they need to do medical checkups, especially if something happened. And turns out they all feel really, really well. But for some reason, the doctor points out, like, there is no heartbeat.
At which point I wrote down, oh no, are they clones? I may have written that down before that. But at the point where they say they have no heartbeats, I wrote down they're vampires. I don't know why. It just felt like that was my go-to whenever somebody is still alive but they don't have a heartbeat.
Yeah. And then Dr. Fraser goes in to get a blood test and she draws some kind of white liquids.
Which makes you think, if they're that means the veins are exactly where they would be in a human body, or she would not have been able to stab him and get that. But then Jack goes in for super drastic, and he takes a scalpel and he cuts himself open to reveal that he's a Terminator inside.
Yeah, that is a robot. Yeah.
And there's no veins where they're saying supposed to be for the.
It's very thin. The skin is very thin.
It's
also,
cool,
at this
though.
point, it's very cool. And then at this point, Teal'c notices he no longer has the Goa'uld inside of him, and I'm like, that took you a long time to realize.
Yes, but on the other hand, later on, he says he can still feel its presence. So unless he was like physically feeling his body, he wouldn't notice that the pouch was missing.
Yeah, but you would feel that. And it's like that. It's
like
they
Daniel and
timed
his
out.
glasses.
Yeah, they timed out these reveals, and they just ignore it till it happens, which is not natural
No.
to the characters. And okay, they're robot clones, but
What it felt like to me, like they had an idea. They had an idea for Jack, but they were afraid to split up the team. This should have been just something that happened to Jack. And
Yeah,
they should have parked the rest of the cast to the side and just focused on Jack. Because Jack is the only one here who has gotten any writing.
yeah,
Everybody
exactly.
else just wanders around and doesn't react in the way that their characters
Yeah,
would.
the ending is all about how he feels about that there's a copy of him, which is fine. But like you said, then make it an episode about Jack,
Yeah.
not
It's not
the
like we
team.
haven't done this before, or like done something with Jack and or anybody else.
So yeah, Robot and then Fraser sounds the alarm while they try to convince them that they are still themselves.
And here is my question. They lock him in a room, and at no point does anybody ask them, what did you do with the real ones? They don't ask what happened to our bodies. Nobody asks. They don't ask until very, very later. And then when they say, your bodies are gone, they just brush it off. Like, okay, well, shame that happened.
They keep believing the guy on his word, while it's very
Well,
obvious that
yeah.
every time he
But-
tells them something, it's a lie, or
but
at least a partial lie.
If like 4 copycats walk into your base, your first response should be like, what did you do with the real, where are our people?
Yeah, send the team.
Yeah. No, doesn't
But they
happen.
don't. So they're taken into custody, and Dr. Fraser and Hammond watch them through a monitor. They are confused because of everything, because everything about them seems like they are themselves. So they don't really know what to do with them. So in the cell, they are discussing what happened, that they feel exactly the same. They keep repeating that. They feel even better. And then Carter is the one who says she understands why Hammond did what he did, because it's obvious. Like, yeah, if there's intruders and they look like your people, you can find them in the quarters. So she theorizes that Harlan must have transferred their consciousness into these bodies. And O'Neill gets angry because he understands that he will no longer be treated the same because they are no longer human. This is the very first time in this episode that they actually point out something interesting.
Yes.
They won't do anything with it.
No, we'll never talk about it again. Anyway, they go back because...
Yeah, and then Hammond enters a cell and he wants to send SG-3 to check out the planet, which he just should have done in the first place, but comes in to ask their permission for some reason. They say don't do it.
That's
it's a
because he
bad
has to-
idea
he has-
because Harlan will do the same to them.
He has to be in the room when they lose power, basically.
Exactly. Suddenly they all start feeling weak and they collapse. And Hammond and the soldiers get them to the Stargate and they just throw them through.
Like, even my phone warns me at 20%. Like, that's just bad design.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just...
So they return to the other side, and once there, their strength returns. So Carter suggests that they literally needed to power up, that their battery was depleted.
They are very chill about all of this.
Yeah.
Which could be explained by saying their emotions are dampened if we didn't have Jack, who is not dampened at all. Like, there's no...
The rest of them just goes along with it,
Yeah,
and it bothered me the whole
it bothers
time.
me to no end, because not only, like, Daniel throughout this entire thing, at a certain point it becomes apparent that they can never leave. They have to stay there. And Daniel doesn't flip out. He's like, I cannot go and look for my wife again. He doesn't say that. Not at all. Like, excuse me? This is weird.
It's almost as if this episode was written for something else and they recycled it.
Oh, that is a good point.
And then they just pasted the characters on top of it.
Yeah.
Might be a script that was already written and just adapted.
Oh, could be interesting to look into. But again, at a certain point, I know that this is a team, but sometimes you just have to feel comfortable in saying, like, we need one person. Just one. And I think Carter might have been the most interesting for this one, because she is a scientist. Or just, O'Neill, again, even though we already did that once. But it wasn't really him.
We've come out of an episode with O'Neill and Carter, so but they would actually be the natural fit for this kind of story.
Also, this guy constantly saying about Teal'c, just let him wander off on his own, he's different, when that's the only black guy in your cast. Like, maybe we should, that
It's
was
also
very...
the fact that nobody acts on that. They don't react to that. He's different. Well, yes. And he doesn't have his symbiont anymore. But nobody goes like, hey, this is a problem. Yes, he's different and he's acting weird. We should help him. No, they just go along with it.
For like 2 times, Daniel goes, Teal'c, are you okay? And Teal'c says, basically, no, I am not, and wanders off. I'm like, okay. Like, what, dude? No, follow him, maybe. It's a very weird episode.
It's like they pasted those scenes into it because they had an alien in there and they needed to do something with it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was originally written to be just humans.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah. I should check that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so O'Neill grabs Harlan. Carter stops him since...
Why, Carter? Let him punch him.
But she says he's the only one who can undo what he has done.
True.
And then Harlan says... Immediately goes like, no, I can't undo this. Their bodies, your bodies are all gone. It's part of the process.
And nobody slaps him at that point.
Yeah.
If somebody told me I destroyed your body, I would at least punch you. Like, just...
Yeah. And then he brings them back to the room they woke up in, and they will need to rest there because their bodies are not fully recharged yet. And then an alarm sounds. There's some kind of coolant leak somewhere. Because apparently the place is falling apart. And that's why he needs help, or at least that's what he says. And then Harlan leaves. Carter can't help but agree because the place is barely working. Then Teal'c tells O'Neill that they have to accept what they are now. But O'Neill isn't happy
Teal'c,
about...
you have a wife and a son and a rebellion out there to lead. Like, what?
Yeah, that was so weird. He's so chill.
He's very chill for someone who has sworn revenge on the Goa'uld.
Exactly.
Like,
oh, sure, my body is destroyed and I'm a robot now. Yeah, whatever. It's
whatever, dude, it's cool.
Very unlike him. Unlike everybody, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, O'Neill is the only one who reacts normally, that he's not happy about being a robot. And he goes and leaves to talk to Harlan. Then Jackson and Carter have a conversation where Daniel compares the human body to a machine. And he remarks, like, at least our consciousness is still the same.
And what's also weird is, like, our body is a machine, which, true, is just organic. And Carter says, I don't think that comparison tracks. Like, you're a scientist. It totally tracks. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's the computer.
That's also,
what?
That's the whole conversation, basically.
Yeah.
It's about a couple of minutes, and it's the only time they will bring this up, and nobody will ever talk about this again.
Yeah.
And then Teal'c stands up and walks off.
And nobody follows him.
Well, they follow him and he disappeared. It was just around the corner and they never checked because, And he starts shaking and glitching or something. It's not really obvious what is going on.
And I thought, maybe both of the consciousness are in there and the Goa'uld is taking over. What a cool idea.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened, but then it goes absolutely nowhere.
It's not even obvious that this is what happened. But later on, there's
it was kind of obvious to me because he said he could still feel the Goa'uld's presence, but
it's never made
no,
clear.
It's not.
It's not that you say it's really obvious, but in the episode itself, it's never really touched upon.
No, true.
Then O'Neill is talking to Harlan, who doesn't understand their obsession with returning to their bodies.
At this point, he keeps calling it a gift. Mm-hmm. A gift should be allowed to be refused. Yeah, it's not a gift. It's force. Again,
he's supposedly very old and probably doesn't remember that he was once a human. Although he does tell them about how they came to be. So it's really confusing. How is this a gift? Like, go into this. Why is this a gift to you. We're just supposed to understand what he says.
It's not a gift. You were desperate and you did something by force to somebody else. Yeah, no, he should have been punched at least once by the end of this episode.
And then Carter and Jackson arrive and they're asking about Teal'c. And then again, Harlan tells them to leave him because he's different. And then he finally starts telling them about the world, how they transferred their mind into these bodies, but some of them expired, some of them could not be repaired, and others left through the Stargate with a portable power source, and others ended their lives by walking out into the world. And that's about everything we get to know about what happened there.
Yeah.
And some of the things he says are disturbing.
Yeah, like there's people of you out there with a portable power source. Okay.
And does he think they survived? He never goes into this. But there's also people who apparently committed suicide by walking out into the radiation. So is it a gift? Apparently not even their people were happy with it.
Also, your plan was to have 1,000 people of your planet surviving under this bunker. Which, first of all, this screams like privilege to me. Like, somebody picked these people.
Yeah.
Also, what was your plan? Because you're stealing other people to make new people. What was the plan, that these thousands of people were just going to keep on living forever?
His plan is never really clear. Like, I get that he's lonely, but that's about all I get about this.
He's not lonely, though, because if he was lonely, he would not leave them alone and he would talk to them. He doesn't. He treats them like machinery.
So he really does need them only to help him out in the factory.
That's totally the vibe I was getting.
So he's a privileged robot, and his factory is falling apart, so he kidnaps some people and makes robots.
Can you see why I wanted him punched?
Yeah, it's... Yeah, okay.
There is a lot of non-consent going on in this.
Yeah. But
And which can be a plot point. But nobody punches him for it.
Exactly. It's not that the ideas are bad, it's just that they're not explored.
Jack is the only one here with a normal reaction to any of it. Any of it.
Yeah. So, yeah, they are here now and everything is better, at least for Harlan then. And Jackson steps in to help Harlan with what he's doing, and that makes him happy. Okay, then. But O'Neill tells him he wants to go home. Harlan says that they are still not appreciating the gift of immortality. Again, okay, cool. What is immortality? What is it doing to you as a person?
Immortality
We're not going to explore that here.
Immortality is a curse. Like, maybe go into that. Like, just a little bit. No, we're not going to do that.
Another alarm sounds, and it's the power source, and they need to repair it, otherwise they will all die.
Dun, dun, dun.
And at this point, like, nobody's like, maybe we should do that. Because they're clearly not happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they go along and they do it. So they follow him to the computer terminal, and he points out that there's a valve that is broken and he needs their help to fix it. Again, O'Neill asks where Teal'c is because maybe he can help. Harlan says to leave it because he's different. The racial undertones are so loud here.
Yeah. And also, we didn't touch upon this, but how many times did he tell Carter, oh, especially you're female? Like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Because later on it turns out they're all robots. Then why does it matter? I am very confused.
I forgot to write that point down and it never really comes back.
But
that was one of the first things he said to Carter, like, oh, you're different.
And he says it like 3 times.
Yeah.
Except for you're female, like with a big smile, like you're a robot. How is this relevant to
exactly. Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
So yeah, he explains that they have to go and open these valves manually, and he'll put all the info in their brains so they'll know what to do. So yeah, okay, you can write information in their brains. Cool. Are we gonna explore this? No.
If you write stuff into my brain without my, permission, that's also non-consent.
Yeah, that's a violation. So Carter and Jackson go looking while O'Neill goes after them, and he jumps down several floors without a problem. I don't know why that scene is in there. Like, is it just to show off?
He's testing out his robot body.
That should be something you put in the beginning of your episode, not in the ending of your episode.
I felt like it maybe was like a beat that was supposed to say like Jack is coming to terms with his new body, but it wasn't.
Not very obvious.
Yeah, it wasn't clear.
So Jackson finds the pipe with the broken valve and then pulls the lid off without issue.
And the camera does something cool, like something they do in Star Trek Voyager a lot of the time. You just shake the camera. You should shake. You don't shake the set. You shake the camera, and then everything shakes. And if you have a very well-trained team, you can go like left, right, and then you can just do as of they don't do that here. But
they on Star Trek Next Generation they had numbers, like they would ask the director the intensity, and it was a number from 1 to 10, so the whole crew knew the intensity of the shaking. It's kind of cool if you have a crew that works that well together.
Like the behind the scenes of Star Trek Voyager were always so fun to see, because they were like left, right, left, and then also at a certain point in time, I know I'm going on a tangent here, but like you have to have seatbelts on your bridge if this keeps happening.
Yeah, it was a big thing when they did it in the new movies.
Right? Like, oh, you have seatbelts. It only took you how many? It's like
30 years or something. Anyway, so yeah, he feels inside and he finds the valve. And then O'Neill finds another pipe and opens it up. Pressure is building, steam is bursting out, and he's thrown back by it and finds Teal'c standing there. And he punches O'Neill and they start...
Not the person to punch!
Yeah, and he starts going after him. A fight breaks out and O'Neill ends up pushing O'Neill's face. So Teal'c pushes O'Neill's face into a pipe that is blowing steam, damaging his face. And at this point, Harlan arrives and he disintegrates Teal'c.
Which, rude.
Yeah, not even a warning. He just...
Yeah, it's okay. He was malfunctioning. I'll just make a new one. Like...
Yeah.
Dude!
But they do reveal that, so the clone O'Neill has, I guess, damage, like the skin has melted off in one nice circular place, but they have this real cool prosthetic underneath.
It's really cool, except when they go too close, and
Yeah.
like when the angle is wrong, you can see the lines. But that's not the fault of the prosthetic. They should...
The prosthetic is pretty good, but yeah, like you said, if they go in too close, you can really see the lack of detail on the inside and the lines of the makeup on the
I
outside.
think they just said, oh, it's okay, we're not going to go this close, and then change their mind on the set, which happens a lot and is not fun for the prop department when it
but also
happens.
to get a really detailed
Yeah.
piece of prosthetic like that, you need time. And on a TV budget, you don't always have the time to do that.
Yeah,
So
nowadays they would just, like, the
They
inside
probably
would
would
be,
CGI
like,
it or something,
it would
yeah.
be green screen or blue
Yeah.
screen, and then they would fill it in later. Still cool, though.
Yeah, still cool. If you do it like that, you can have the depth because
Yeah, because that...
makeup is additive, it's not subtractive. Like
and that threw me out of it too. It's not really the fault of anyone, like, but the actor moves and you could see the lines move along with his jaw, which is normal. I mean, he can't just turn that part of his face off when he's screaming at someone. At least Jack screamed at him. Like, I would have loved a punch, but at least he...
Anyway, Carter and why did I write Carter and Sam? Because that's the same person.
That's the same person twice. Maybe, well, at a certain point in time, you do have Carter and Sam.
Yeah, that's coming up. It's probably either O'Neill or Jackson. And they follow Harlan as he goes away, and they find him in a lab where he is making a new synthetic of Teal'c.
And basically, it's Teal'c. It's Christopher Judge covered in white goo.
Yeah.
And I just really hope he got paid a lot for this episode, because this was not a lot. This was not a fun work day for him.
No, none of it.
No.
He has barely any lines.
Yeah.
Not a lot of acting going on, and at this
No.
point he's just laying on his back with goo on top
Yeah.
of him. Yeah. Ooh.
Poor Christopher.
Carter wants to know if he can do that. So Carter realizes that he told them there was no body to copy from, and he's making a new Teal'c. So how can he do that if the bodies are gone?
It's a copy.
Yeah, and O'Neill. So
Sorry.
O'Neill wants to know if their bodies are still alive, and they are. So O'Neill wants him to put them back, and then Harlan says that's impossible, and he will show them. Like, just say that they're still there. Anyway, they take him back into that same room where they
No,
woke
it's a
up in.
different
Well,
room.
yeah, it's the
But
same
they
set, but
they put like a few pipes on there to make it
Yeah.
look like a different room.
and they find themselves lying there, awake and bound.
And conscious.
And
which
conscious.
means that they have been conscious this whole time.
Yeah, and Harlan says he was gonna send them back through the gate as soon as they had accepted the transfer. So Carter understands now they are a copy, not a transfer. Like, wow.
Yes.
Wow, Carter.
Carter, 1, that took forever. 2, why are you not upset?
No, but nobody's upset.
Nobody.
Not
Jack
even,
is upset.
Yeah, but not even the ones they wake up. Like,
No.
they wake up and they're like, oh, Harlan, everything's going well. It's like, why are you so calm? Did you know about this? Did you
And
know what
even
was
if
going to
you're
happen?
the person who can go home, you still made a copy of you.
Yeah, you consented to making a copy of
No.
yourself, and that person has to stay there forever? Like, it's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And the composite works really well sometimes, and then sometimes Sam is staring at herself, and I'm like, what? No. Though this, and I don't know what was wrong with it, because their eye lines did match up, but for me it still felt fake.
There were some shots where I had the feeling that the resolution wasn't really well done. Like, one of them was fuzzier than the other.
Yeah, it was something in there, I don't know.
Because the lighting matched and the eye lines matched, and
But still something was very off.
Yeah, it still felt off. It's obviously done with locked off shots, keeping it very simple. But there were shots that were really well done, and there were
still
shots
some
that were...
crossover. Like, mostly you would have a clear line in the middle, and they did have some crossover, which was
Crossover
really...
is mostly when they have a body double and you only see the back of the
Well,
head.
still, because I noticed, like, their faces were both Sam, but their hands, like, not at the same time, but they would... So they
But, like, there
probably
was-
filmed like a blank.
There was one shot where Carter stands up from the bed
That
and the
was a body
camera
double.
does a tracking shot, but it's really awkward for some reason because the actor has to keep the back of her head to the camera at all times.
And then also at the end, you have a top shot where 4 people are very clearly, like,
Yeah.
stand-ins. But,
Yeah.
you know, that's not the main issue here. The main issue is
think-
nobody slapped this guy.
Yeah. So they go, and they're gagged. They have like some sort of silver tape on their mouths, which is really weird. So they go on, take that off, and then they start unbinding them. And then the real O'Neill calmly asks where Harlan has been. So he left them there for days?
Well, maybe no time has passed for them, but it's never clear.
It's never clear.
It is never clear.
He answers that he was busy making their synthetic copies, saving the planet. So this all feels like they knew what he was doing.
I don't know.
And they just went
we
along
don't
with
have
it.
enough
It's so
information.
weird. Carter is actually amazed by the fact that they are identical, right up until the mole on the, and then she cuts the other Carter off,
It's
which
not
is
funny. It's really not funny.
yeah, it would have been an okay joke if she wasn't treated like a thing the whole episode.
Well, they're all been treated like things.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And then O'Neill goes after his synthetic to talk to himself because he's the only one who understands how unhappy he is. And they have a really good heart-to-heart. And this is like the only scene in the whole episode that is actually worth something.
Yes, but that's because of the actor and
Yeah.
not the writing.
Yeah.
It's
He
really
really
just
sells
Richard.
that he's two
It's
kind of basically the same people, but they have different reactions to it, and the timing of the dialogue is spot on.
It works.
It works.
But it's Richard Dean Anderson being Richard Dean Anderson.
But it's the only scene
Mm-hmm.
that's at least a little bit questioning about what's happening here, and acknowledging that the copy is unhappy with it. And then the real O'Neill is a bit worried about security because he of course knows all the codes and stuff, and then the other one, the copy, promises to bury the gate when they are gone. And then for some reason he tells O'Neill to call him Jack.
because he's a different person. But if you
It's
bury the
not that
gate, the
obvious.
other people who left with their power source can never come back. Personally,
They are gonna come back. They will not bury the gate.
man, really?
They're gonna, I'm not sure when, but they're gonna run into their copies, or their copies have done something. They're going exploring planets, and they run into, I think, maybe the consequences of what they did. Something like that. So we have a cold open where
Okay.
they're the copies, and then the real ones come in, and everybody's like, hey, you're back. And you're like, we've never been here before. Something like that.
Which makes sense because, like, Star Trek Voyager had an episode like that too, that they made copies. Well, it was an accident. Like, there were copies made of them and they left them behind on the planets.
Mm-hmm.
And then they forgot that they were copies. So they set off back home, but it wasn't their home.
Mm-hmm.
And that was also a very cool double feeling at a certain point.
I can't remember much of the other episode, but I have a feeling that's going to be a more interesting story than this one.
Yeah.
Because it's really about the question of who is who and are you a real person than this one is.
So what this episode should have at least touched upon.
Yeah,
like a little
exactly.
bit. Because Daniel is always very much, oh no, my wife. And here he's just like, I'm not even going to notice my glasses are gone.
He's barely there.
He's not there.
So yeah, the others are ready to go home, and then both groups are standing at the gate to say goodbye. Jack wishes the real O'Neill a good life, and after one last look back, they step through the gate and we cut to credits.
Did you notice, like, when Jack is saying goodbye to, well, when the real, I don't want to say real, they're both real, when Captain,
The original.
when the original is saying goodbye to the copy, like, Christopher Judge is standing right at the side of the frame, but I think he thought he wasn't in the frame because he's constantly laughing.
Really?
He is! He's like constantly like smirking and being very much not Teal'c. Like that I know that laugh, sir. You're totally being ADHD right now. He's just, but it's only like a sliver of his face, and I think he thought, I'm not really in this shot.
That it was only like the,
oh god, and he's constantly smirking, and I'm like, oh gosh, nobody told him he was in the frame.
So yeah, that was the episode. This could have been a good one.
I wrote down lackluster.
Yeah, it brushes against the subject of eternal life, but never goes into the consequences of this, or if it's right or wrong what Harlan has done.
It's wrong.
It is wrong. Well,
also, like, what is the cost of saving a society? Maybe touch on that. Like, maybe. Also, if this is your society, it's just a factory. There's no art. There's nothing about the actual culture that he's trying to preserve.
Exactly.
He's just trying to keep a machine running. So also, you could touch upon
it's
the
not a
loss
society,
of,
it's one person.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It could have felt more like a museum that he's trying to maintain, but he's just keeping a machine running, which could be interesting because you could maybe say, hey, there is no society left. You're just,
why are you keeping this running?
Yeah.
It could be,
They never touch upon it. Yeah. In the words of Mad Max Fury Road.
Mediocre.
Mediocre.
It is really mediocre. Somebody had an idea that was, on the surface, interesting.
But I really do want to know now if it was written for something else.
Maybe
a writer forgot he was supposed to write for this show. And they called him up and it's like, hey, so you're sending this in, right? Like tomorrow? And like,
It could have been a short story or something that they adapted.
Yeah.
It really feels like an idea that wasn't originally for this show.
It feels like they miscounted and they were one short. Kind of like how certain songs were written, because like at the end, like, hey, you're supposed to have 11. Where's number 11? Like just pull it out all-nighter. It's gonna be fine. And then just hand it in, and then everybody was like, what's this monstrosity? Why did you write it? I don't know.
Sometimes it's the best song of the CD.
The Marie-Louise.
Nobody's going to know that reference.
Oh, come on. People, like Dutch people and Belgian people are going to know this. The Marie-Louise was written overnight, fueled by caffeine and like instant panic because they were one short.
And it is still
a staple.
Every wedding.
It is the staple of drunk uncles at a wedding everywhere. Forever.
And it never goes away. Yeah, it's kind of like Jorge with Mia, which was a B-side.
Really?
Yeah, it was literally a B-side that was just on another single, and that was the one that got picked up.
Mm-hmm. And it never will go away. It will never ever go away.
It's a good song.
It's a good song, but it will never go away. People will rummage through the ashes of the lower countries and they will pull up that one song and be like, what happened here? We don't know, but Mia saw the light. Like,
and only Elvis will go on.
Yes.
Anyway, this was a bad episode.
Yeah. Let's just call it.
Time of death. It could have been something, but
that's even worse sometimes.
Nobody put any work into this.
Yeah.
But we're nearing the end. Let's hope that. Let's hope that one. Well, we have a clip show episode coming up. So yeah, I'm not sure. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. I know. Like growing up, I used to go like, ugh, it's a clip show episode. But now, when we live in the streaming era where we don't have clip shows episode anymore, I really love clip shows episodes. And you laughed at me when I'm watching a lot of K-drama lately, and they do actually have clip show sort of at the end, like recapturing the thing, and then they start with, and he just has to laugh every time. But I do somehow miss that.
I was thinking about this, like when you used to have seasons that were more than 20 episodes, by the time you reached the end, that was almost half a year. So those clip show episodes were actually also functional. They were practical because they cost a lot less money, but they were also functional because most of the times they will lead up to your cliffhanger ending episode. So they will recap the whole season for you.
And they were really well done sometimes.
Some of them are really well done, and there's others that are clearly just clip shows.
And in an era where you had to be present at home at the correct time to watch an episode, every single clip episode had at least one clip that made you go, what? Hey, hang on, I missed one? What did I miss? That looks cool. And then you would have to try and catch that one. Like, we're old.
Yes,
We're
we are.
old. We have a kid that just pauses and goes off and comes back and unpauses and just binge watches entire. We're old.
She will she sometimes complains, oh, that show got pulled offline. It's like, well,
I have to wait a whole year for the new no, kid, we can tell you stories. Like, if the football finale was on, your show would just get scrapped. You would miss your finale and you would never see it. Like,
that's a deep one for you, isn't it?
it is. I missed the season finale of Beast Wars, and I was so upset. It was leading up to something huge.
And did you ever see it? It is very hard to find.
It is. Also, it's so badly done quality-wise that I did find it.
It was
but
early
I can't-
CGI, right?
It was early CGI. It was like, look, we have CGI now. I can't watch it. It's so bad. But
like,
the story is so good, though.
It's like those. Did you ever see the Starship Trooper Roughneck
I did not.
TV series? That was also very early CGI. So it kind of looks like a low-res video game now, if you look at it. And like with emotionless characters. But yeah.
Yeah.
They did stuff that you couldn't do in traditional animation. But it's funny if you see like a TV series that's supposed to be like that big movie you saw, but that movie was known for having such great visual effects, and then you see these TV series completely CGI and it looks like shit.
I cannot watch Babylon 5 for that reason. I'm sorry. It looks so bad. It really does. But we are way off there.
Yeah. So, because we keep forgetting, where can people find you online if they want to?
Oh, please don't find me. I am very tired. I am on TikTok as Evie Belknap. I am on Instagram as Evie Belknap. And I think that's it. I'm on Blue Sky. Not as much anymore.
No,
Where are
you've
you?
been quiet. I am on Blue Sky and on YouTube as Iradonian, and you can find me on Instagram as Arne Köstermans. I'm looking forward to ending this season. I think it's going to be a really cool cliffhanger, and let's get through that. See you next week. Bye.